What's up, everyone? Today we're going to talk about the World Series, but before we get to the World Series, we're going to talk about kind of the timeline of how we got here, what my thoughts were throughout the season, and why I was wrong on pretty much all of these predictions. And now I kind of look like a fool because if you watch my ALCS or my LCS preview, I said the only matchup that I don't see happening is Blue Jays Dodgers, and that ended up being the matchup. But we are going to talk about this and a lot more, and we're going to go through the Major League Baseball season and talk about the different clues that led up to the matchup between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. So just to start off, this is the 121st World Series. 11 times 11 is 121, okay? And New York is the 11th state. I remember you had 9/11. The Twin Towers looked like a giant 11. We also got to talk about our semi-primes. Our semi-primes. 33 is the 11th semi-prime. Like how New York equals 33. Of course, that was 9/11 was 33 years after construction began on the World Trade Center. But we knew coming into this season that the World Series was going to have to do something with New York. And the first major thing that happened was the death of Octavio Dotel. Now, Octavio Dotel died at age 51. His name also equals 51. Like you see right there, 51. The Mets, they're a New York team. Mets equals 51. All right, so we're thinking, okay, maybe the Mets are going to make the World Series. Now, what I do actually want to show you is, so Bruce Bochy, he's the manager of the Rangers. I don't know if he officially retired or what they say, but if you look at his record, so when he was with the Giants, they had even year magic, right? They won the World Series 3 times in 5 years. 3 times in 5 years. It's a lot like Catholic 35. But anyways, when the Rangers won the World Series 2 years ago, it was a very similar script to when he won the World Series with the Giants for the first time back in 2010. So I was thinking, maybe even year magic with the Giants, maybe odd year magic with the Rangers, because Bruce Bochy, it does also equals 51. He is 4-1 in World Series. I don't think he's going to manage again though. But I was thinking, maybe he'll get to 5-1 in the World Series in tribute to this. So it wasn't like a. And also because Octavio Dotel won the 2011 World Series over the Rangers, and his career began with the Mets. So I was thinking, maybe Rangers Mets. There's something to that, but I wasn't like totally set on it. But it was just something. It was a thought that was in my head. Then we had the College World Series. In the College World Series, LSU won. They got their 53rd win of the season on 53 date numerology. And the thing was, LSU won the College World Series 2 years ago when the Rangers won the World Series, and I've talked about that, how that was a clue to win for the Rangers to win back in 2023. So I was thinking, maybe Rangers again. Also, the thing is with LSU baseball, and whenever LSU baseball wins the College World Series, in the MLB World Series, it's almost always New York themed. So, for example, 1991, the Minnesota Twins won the World Series that year, and the connection that the Twins have with New York, they're the Twins and the Twin Towers, and also the New York Giants, who moved to San Francisco to become the San Francisco Giants, they almost moved to Minnesota. So that's the connection there. 93, I'm not sure what that is. I know the Blue Jays won that in 93. So 96, the Yankees won that. 97, the Marlins won that. So I'm not sure what the connection is there. But 2000, that was the Subway Series between the Mets and the Yankees. 2009, the Yankees won that. I've talked about this before, that 2009 World Series. That was the 105th World Series, 9/11 equals 105. Sorry, it's not Illuminati, is it the Illuminati? No, it's, shoot, which one is it? It's Order of Illuminati is 105, that's right. And of course, the Illuminati was founded on 5/1. Remember, the MVP of that 2009 World Series was Hideki Matsui, the Japanese guy after the new Pearl Harbor. Okay, anyways, in 2023, the Rangers won it. And the connection with the Rangers in New York is they used to be owned by the Bush family. And then George Bush was president during 9/11. And they also had Max Scherzer on that team who had just come over from the Mets. And so then they won in 2025. Okay, and so we're thinking, okay, so it's probably going to have another New York connection. I'm not sure yet who it's going to be, but it'll be another New York connection. Yeah, they won, look at this, 53 wins on the season. If we scroll down to that final game, they won 5-3. It was on 6/22. That's 28, 25, 53. So they got their 53rd win of the season by the score of 5-3 on 53 date numerology. Okay, so keep 53 in mind. We're going to talk about that later. Then we also had the death of Shigeo Nagashima, who was Japanese Mr. Baseball. And it's kind of interesting because he played for the Yomiuri Giants over in Japan. And we'll talk about this date, October 14th. It's all like 111. It's like 1014. Remember, in numerology, 0 doesn't mean anything. 114. Pearl Harbor is 114. And that was 51 years ago. His last appearance 51 years ago. And he was born on the 51st day of the year. The next major event that we had, I forgot to include it up on here. If I can spell his name right, it's Bobby Jenks. Yeah, the death of Bobby Jenks. Now, Bobby Jenks, if you look at his birthday to his death date. So March 14th of this year to July 4th is 112 days. And from his death date until Game 1 of the World Series, it's also 112 days. So we know 112 is going to be big. Of course, Jesuits claim to operate in 112 countries. And if you look at it this way, 11 squared, like 112, is 121. And Bobby Jenks did win Bobby Jenks won the World Series, the 2005 World Series. That was over Houston. Houston's another 112. And remember, the new Pope, is from Chicago, and he was at Game 1 of the World Series that year, and they showed him on TV during the 9th inning when Bobby Jenks was pitching. And then we had the Major League Cricket final. Now, in the Major League Cricket final, New York won that. And 180 plus 175 is 355. Just so 180 plus 175 is 355. 355 is the 112th semi-prime. You see right here, 112th semi-prime, 355. From that day, that was on 7/13, until 11/2 was 112 days later. And again, it was a New York team that won it. And remember, 2 years ago, New York also won it. They beat Seattle. Now, what happened 2 years ago, if I could remember, did they have the date on here? It was July 30th. Because I made a video at the time from, here we go, 13 weeks and 3 days from the time that MI New York won the inaugural cricket championship to the time that the Rangers won the World Series. Or you could say it was a span of 13 weeks and 4 days. 13 13 weeks and 4 days is important because the Rangers went 13-4 in the playoffs that year. And 133 is important because, oh, sorry, it's not New York. It's MI New York is 133. MI New York is also 52, like how the Rangers won it in their 52nd season. Texas Rangers 52. And also Texas Rangers is 173. That's the 40th prime number. 40th prime number. 121 is the 40th semi-prime. And the winner of the College World Series, LSU Tigers, that also equals 40. LSU also equals 52. But yeah, with MI New York, we'll talk a little bit more about MI New York. So I was thinking, well, just like 2023, LSU wins the College World Series, MI New York wins cricket. Are we going to see the Rangers win it again? You see, MI New York equals 47. If we look at the Texas Rangers playoff record, if the Texas Rangers had, if they were one of the wild card teams, they would have had to get 13 wins to win the World Series. So if the Rangers make the playoffs, if their next playoff appearance, if the Rangers had made the playoffs this year as a wild card, they would have needed 13 wins to win the World Series, which would put them at 47 playoff wins. And I was thinking, okay, yeah, there's something there. Are they going to just repeat history like they did 2 years ago? Then we also had the Central Texas floods. Now from July 4th until, is it that? I can't remember. Right, and from July 4th until 11/2 is 121 days later. And the reason why I put 11/2, remember with the Major League Cricket Championship, it was 112 days before 11/2. And 11/2 would be the day after Game 7. So that means if the World Series ends in Game 6, they'll have a parade on 11/2 because Game 6 is going to be on 10/31. And 110 is also interesting too because MI New York is 110, like how there are 110 stories on the World Trade Center towers. Right, and then we had the Little League World Series, and the team that won was from Taiwan. Taiwan's another 40. I think it was it Taipei, Taiwan? If I can spell it correctly. Taipei, Taiwan. No, maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was just Taipei. So yeah, Taipei has New York numbers. Oh, maybe it was Chinese Taipei. Is that what it was? I can't remember what it was, but there was something to that. I was thinking, with these floods happening, like, it was also, so if you look at July 4th, let's look at July 4th until the start of the World Series. It was 112 days. So I was thinking, okay, well, we know Lone Star is 112. Texas is the Lone Star State, but more importantly, Houston is 112. And we had the fact that Bobby Jenks died, who won the World Series over Houston. Now we have these tragedies in Central Texas, and we also had, we had Taiwan won the Little League World Series, and remember also at the beginning of the year, Sylvester Turner, the former Houston mayor, he died, and we'll talk a little bit more about his death, but he was the mayor when when the Astros won the World Series both times. All right, and then, so I was thinking, let me pull up one more thing. And then we had the death of Charlie Kirk. And so we've had all these 112s, and then finally Charlie Kirk dies on the day leaving 112 days left in the year, and he was a big Cubs fan. And remember, the Cubs won the 112th World Series. That was 2016 was the 112th World Series. So I was thinking, okay, we've had Sylvester Turner died. We have the Cubs. A big Cubs fan die. There's a lot of 112s around. Are we going to see Chicago versus Houston just like we did when Bobby Jenks won the World Series? I was thinking maybe we'll have Cubs versus Astros. And I wasn't sold on that, but I was like, there's something to that. And then about in like the final week of the regular season, I do want to give some credit to Gematria Sense on Instagram. I'm not sure if he has a YouTube account, but on Instagram he posted something about Minoru Yamasaki because he died in Detroit, and there was a Tigers game that was connected to him. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, I had forgotten that Minoru Yamasaki was from Seattle, and I didn't actually remember his birthday, but I saw that his birthday was December 1st, that was 12/1. I was like, wait a second, are the Mariners going to make the World Series? Are they going to make the 121st World Series in tribute to this guy? And I've already talked about how this guy connected to the last two World Series. And my thinking was, okay, he's from Seattle. The Mariners' first playoff series was against Detroit. I already talked about the symbolism with that one and all the rituals they did. But remember, he designed the World Trade Center towers. He also designed Pruitt-Igoe. But I've already talked about how the Pruitt-Igoe towers went down on the day that's normally the 111th day of the year, and the World Trade Center towers were demolished on the 111th day of the year that Pruitt-Igoe went down, day leaving 111 days in the year that the World Trade Center went down. Of course, New York, if I can spell correctly, New York is 111, just a bunch of ones, so we have this huge 11 thing. And in conjunction with, and also we were talking a lot about 112, Seattle is 82, when 112 is the 82nd composite number. So I was thinking, maybe we'll have Seattle versus Chicago, because Dan Wilson is from Arlington Heights, just like Charlie Kirk. And that was pretty much entering the final weekend of the season. I was thinking that's probably going to be the World Series, Seattle versus Chicago. Dan Wilson finished the season on 111 total wins, and they got 90 wins on the season, which meant that if they won they weren't going to get 111 wins, but they were going to get their 101st win. And remember, Bobby Jenks won the 2005 World Series, which was the 101st edition. So I was thinking it was going to be Seattle versus Chicago. And then Chicago lost, and I wasn't that surprised that Chicago lost because it was 9-10 until the day that they lost was 10-11. That was 31 days after Charlie Kirk died at the age of 31, and the Cubs lost that game to the Brewers 3-1. So I wasn't that shocked. And then entering the championship series, I thought it was going to be Mariners and Dodgers. And my thinking was, Minoru Yamasaki, we were talking a lot about 51 at the beginning of this. Octavio Dotel, dead at age 51. His name equals 51. LSU, they won 53 games on the season, but they entered the finals with 51 wins on the season. You had the death of Shigeo Nagashima, who was born on the 51st day of the year and played his last game 51 years ago. And if you look at the Mariners score from June 3rd, 2025, you'll see that they lost 5-1. And of course, Ichiro jersey retirement. That was on August 9th, which was the 80-year anniversary of the bombing of Nagasaki. You see that was also August 9th. And why is 80 important? Because, nope, it's not that one. It's Bavarian Illuminati is 80, right? And 127, date of Pearl Harbor, the buildings that went down on 9/11. Right, and with Minoru Yamasaki, remember the first firm that he joined was the same firm that designed the Empire State Building, which opened on May 1st, which is the 121st day of the year, like he was born on 12 slash, oh, sorry, that's not him. It opened on May 1st, which is the 121st day of the year, like he was born on 12/1. And it opened on, it opened on April 11th, which was the 101st day of the year. And if the Mariners had won the World Series, they would have gotten their 101st win of the season. And it's also 94 years ago. Remember, the Seahawks won the Super Bowl look at this. 2013 Seahawks season. So this was, I should actually click on this one. The 2013 NFL season was the 94th season in the NFL, and the Super Bowl was just across the Hudson River in New Jersey. And that was on the 33rd day of the year, and 94 is the 33rd semi-prime. And if we look at the 1978 to 79 NBA season, we'll see that that was the 33rd season, and that was the only season that the Supersonics won the NBA title. And of course, they moved to Oklahoma City, and they just won it earlier this year. And with the Seahawks, I'm sorry, not the Seahawks, with the, do I have it up here? With the Mariners, this year's their 49th season when, let's just write this out here. So New York 33. Remember, Seattle used to be called New York. 49 is the 33rd composite number. So I was thinking, you know what? The Mariners have a great riddle to win the World Series. They might, maybe the fact that the Thunder won the NBA Finals, the fact that, maybe their curse will finally be broken. Now, I want to show you some things about the Mariners. I'm going to call the Mariners MLB's Jesuit whipping boy. The reason why I'm going to call them that is because Seattle has so many Jesuits. Of course, Seattle University, the Jesuit school, is there. But look at Seattle WA, 56. Mariners, 56. All right, Mariners also 119. Remember, in the year of 9/11. So Mariners also goes 97, which is the 25th prime. The Seattle WA is also 25. The abbreviation for the Society of Jesus, SJ, that's 25. But, so with the Mariners, we're going to look at some of their seasons in the past. All right, so the first time that they ever made the playoffs was 95. That was their 19th season. I thought maybe it was their 18th season. It was their 19th. But they won the division in 97. Okay, that's not surprising because Seattle is, oh no, sorry, where was it? Seattle WA 25, Mariners 97. So they won the division 97. Now let's fast forward a few years. I lost it. Where'd it go? Here it is. Fast forward a few years, 2000. That was their 24th season. They made the ALCS. 24 is important because the Jesuit logo is the sun. The sun equals 24, like how there's 24 hours in a day. And then the next year, the year of 9/11, that was their 25th season. As you see here, they won 116 games. The first season with Ichiro. Why is 116 important? Attack on Pearl Harbor, the formal name of the event. That equals 116. And then they won 3 more games in the ALCS to get to 119 wins to face New York just after 9/11. But they only won 1 game, and they finished the season with 120 wins. Now, I think if you look back at this, like obviously I was only 4 years old in 2001. I didn't know what Chamacho was. I don't even know if I knew what baseball was. But you see, they won 116 games in the regular season. If the Mariners had won the World Series that year, they would have gotten, where is it? They would have gotten 127 wins. And that would have made sense. I mean, at the end of the day, it ended up being the Diamondbacks who won it. USS Arizona equals 127. The Diamondbacks that year, they won the World Series. They won the World Series on November 4th, 11/4, and they went 11-6 in the playoffs. And they beat New York. And then they ended up holding their World Series parade on November 7th, which was 1 month and 27 days after 9/11. So those three numbers right there, all huge. And then just the day after the Diamondbacks won the World Series, Bill Cooper died in Arizona. So that was definitely connected. But that was just to show that I'm going to talk about this more, but I call the reason why I call the Mariners the MLB's Jesuit whipping boys, because they've had a lot of potential riddles to make or win the World Series, and each time they have had those, they've fallen short. Like, we're going to fast forward a little bit more here to their 43rd season. 43rd season, 2019, terrible. 43, of course, Mariners is 43. Remember, Jesus died on 4/3. And then Society of Jesus is 191, the 43rd prime number. Of course, they were terrible that year. But what's interesting about that year, 2019, the other Washington, Seattle's in the state of Washington. Instead, it was, where's it say the World Series winner? World Series winner, Washington Nationals. And they won it in their 51st season, which is actually kind of interesting because we know the Illuminati was founded on 5/1 by Adam Weishaupt. So that is kind of interesting. And then the year of course, we just talked about Mariners is 119. The year of the 2019 the year of the 119th World Series, they finished close. They finished 2 games back. That was their 47th season, like how Seattle's on the 47th parallel. They hosted the All-Star game that year as well. Instead, they missed the playoffs by just a couple games, and it ends up being the Texas Rangers to win the World Series. Who I've already talked about this. They have connections with the 2001 Mariners. They have connections with 9/11. But yeah, the Mariners equals 119. They didn't win the World Series that year. Now on to this year. It's their 49th season, the 33rd composite. I already talked about the other Seattle 33 championships and the 121st World Series, like how Minoru Yamasaki was born on 12/1, and the first firm that he joined was the same firm that designed the Empire State Building, which opened on the 121st day of the year. But no, that didn't. Instead, they get. I'll show you about the day that they got eliminated. They got eliminated on 10/20. From then until his birthday, that's not it. From the day that the Mariners got eliminated until Minoru Yamasaki's birthday was 1 month and 11 days. Again, New York 111. 9/11 on the 111th day of the year. That's when his design of the World Trade Center was demolished. And what was the score of that game? The score of that game was 4-3 or 3-4. Mariners 43. Toronto ON 43, where the game was played. Yeah, so it's a mockery. There's a reason why I'm giving the Mariners the title of MLB's Jesuit whipping boy. And they might win the World Series one year. They might make it one year. When they do, it is going to be full of Jesuit rituals. And of course, remember I said 49, the 33rd composite, and I talked about all the 39s with the other 2 Seattle championships. Of course, Jesus died at age 33. Oh yeah, and I said earlier that another reason why I thought maybe Mariners Cubs, or at least Mariners, is that from the potential end date of the World, or from the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination to the potential end date of the World Series is 1 month and 21 days, or 51 days. And Dan Wilson, the manager, his name equals 51, and 111. Said they end up getting eliminated 111 days, or sorry, 1 month and 11 days before Minoru Yamasaki's birthday. And it was also, the funny thing, it was before Pearl Harbor. It was, 1 month and 17 days. Dan Wilson stays on 117 total wins, as they lost to Toronto, which equals 117, who's now going on to play the Dodgers, which equals 117. But it was also a span of 1 month, 18 days, like Los Angeles, California. But no, where is it? It was span of 49 days, like how was both the Mariners and Blue Jays' 49th season. Okay. But anyways, that we've talked about all that, and that's why I talked about basically why I thought it was going to be the Mariners, then ended up not being the Mariners. But now we're going to talk about why the Dodgers are there and who I think is going to win the World Series and in how many games. So let's take a look at the Dodgers playoff record. LA Dodgers playoff record. You see they have 149 total wins. So if they win 4 more, they'll win the World Series. The Illuminati equals 153. And they have, what did I say, how many losses they have? They have 153 losses. So if they lose 2 more, they'll get to 155, which is the 51st semi-prime. And remember, on the day that, well, let's look at, where is he? I can close some of these tabs. Shigeo Nagashima. All right, his last ever game was on October 14th. Let's look at how the Dodgers did on October 14th. Oh, that's right. They won 5-1, exactly 51 years after Shigeo Nagashima's last game, and that was the game where Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the other Japanese guy, I remember he came over to the Dodgers. He signed with the Dodgers 127 days after his birthday. He threw a complete game. So yeah, those 2 events are no doubt coincidental. Or sorry, I doubt that it's a coincidence. It's no doubt that it's not a coincidence. I remember earlier we were talking about MI New York. MI New York. MI New York 133. All right, let's look at what's the Dodgers playoff record this year. This year in the playoffs, they are 9-1. So if they go 4-2 in the World Series, they'll finish 13-3. Remember, the Dodgers used to be from New York. And MI New York, you see 133 and 110 from the day that they won the championship. That was on, by the way, that was on 13/7, and 137 is the 33rd prime. Was it Seattle WA is 137. That was another reason why I thought it might be the Mariners. MI New York 133 and 110. Those are kind of the 2 numbers you got to know for this, because from that day until Game 6 of the World Series is 110 days later. Another thing, let's look at Dave Roberts. All right, Dave Roberts. So if we look at his managerial record, this is updated. You'll see he has 65 total wins. So if he wins 4 more, he'll have 69. Illuminati's got that 69 right there. Remember, he just won the 120th World Series last year. Now he's going for his 69th playoff win. Let's look at the Dodgers' record against the Blue Jays. LA Dodgers record versus Blue Jays. All right, they have 19 wins. If they win 4 more, How many are they going to win? How many wins are they going to have? Oh, that's right, 23 in the one to win the 121st World Series. What do you think about that? Against the Blue Jays in their 49th season. What do you think about that? And let's take a look. What's their LA Dodgers record versus Blue Jays in 2025? They're 2-1. I wonder what happens if they'll go 4-2. Is their record going to be, I don't know, is it going to be, if I could spell, is their record going to be 6-3? And are they going to get their 153rd ever playoff win? Also, let's look at the LA Dodgers. Let's look at the LA Dodgers playoff record as the LA Dodgers. So since 1958. So they have 129 right now. They also have 117 as they face Toronto. But if they win 4 more, again, how many are they going to have? Are they going to have 133? Now, I've talked a lot about the Dodgers, but I do have to be fair. There are some narratives for the Blue Jays. Let's look at the Blue Jays playoff record in 2025. They are 7-4 this year. So if the Blue Jays are the team that wins in 6, their record is going to be 11-6 against the team that has all the Japanese symbolism. All the Japanese players, half Japanese manager. But yeah, Toronto equals 36. If the Blue Jays do lose in 6, they will be 3-6 against them for the year. Also, I said this is all about Minoru Yamasaki. Well, it's not all about him, but he's definitely part of the riddle because he does dine the Century Plaza Twin Towers in LA. His name equals 62. So you have to think about if the Dodgers win in 5, that they would be 6-2 against them. If it does end in Game 5, it would be 116 days after Shohei Ohtani's birthday. But Game 6 is 118 days after his birthday. Or I could say it's a span of 119. But if it is 118, that would make a lot of sense for a parade date, maybe Halloween parade. Los Angeles, California's got that 118. What else is another thing here? The Dave Roberts. How old is he right now? Dave Roberts is 53 years old. Okay, let's look at NL versus AL World Series wins. The National League has 52 wins. So if the National League wins this one, they'll have 53. I wonder what the 53 is. Oh, Los Angeles equals 53. And if they win the World Series in 6 games, how many days before Pearl Harbor is that? Well, it's 37. I'll talk about 37. Oh, a span of 5 weeks and 3 days. Take away the span, that's 37. I wonder what... Oh, Los Angeles equals 37. And it would be... We talked about Minoru Yamasaki. His birthday is December 1st. That would be 31 days before his birthday. And not only is it any birthday... Oh, I did the wrong thing. 31 days, but 1 month, 1 day, like 11. But not only would it be any day, any birthday, it would be his 113th birthday. You see, he was born in 1912. This is 2025. So if he was still alive, he would turn 113. Why is 113 so important to LA? Los Angeles, CA 113. Huge number with, what's the guy's name? Kobe Bryant, who had that 81-point game against Toronto back in the day. All right, and yeah, if they win it on this day, the parade would be on 11/2, which is what I've been saying for a few months now, and that would be 35 days before Pearl Harbor. If the Dodgers do win the Dodgers record in 2025, including playoffs. So they have 102 wins right now. If they win 4 more, they'll get to 106. 106 is the 35th semi-prime, as you see right here. And if they win the World Series on the 31st of October, then they will hold their parade 35 days before Pearl Harbor. Now, if we go back here, the death of Shigeo Nagashima. I talked about the significance of the Dodgers winning 5-1, exactly 51 years after his last ever game. And he was born on the 51st day of the year. And remember, well, okay. Here's what I'll say. Illuminati equals 150, as you see right here. He died on June 3rd. The Illuminati 63, right? From his death date, June 3rd, until Game 6 is 150 days later. It's also 21 weeks and 3 days, like how LA is the 213 area code. And as I said, his birthday is on the 51st day of the year. So if we go to his next birthday, which is, oh, I did this wrong. Hang on. So from Halloween until his next birthday is a span, well, it is 112, which is interesting, but it's a span of 113. I just talked about 113. And one thing that I forgot to mention is that the Dodgers brought in Roki Sasaki this year from Japan, and his birthday is 113. And I do want to point out, let's just go to Twitter for a second. As I pointed out last year, hold on, I'm going to, give me a second here, I'm going to share a different screen for the time being. I just don't want to, too many tabs open, or I have some information that I don't want to share right now. So just give me a second. Hang on, sorry. I gotta go to this one, advanced search. Oh, I don't have it open, I don't. Okay, hold on. All right, here we go. I can bring this back in now. All right, is this? Yeah, here we go. So I tweeted this last year. I said, is he destined for LA? Born on 113 and his name equals 113. So I said that, when did I say that? Last August. And I probably even had thought about it before then, but I just posted it then because it came up on my feed. But yeah, Roki Sasaki, remember there used Ichiro, the Mariners, they used to have another Sasaki. Yeah, I spelled his name right. Yeah, and he also made his last ever game was exactly 20 years before Ichiro's number was retired, that was the 60th anniversary of the bombing of Nagasaki. Pearl Harbor equals 60, like how 9/11 was 60 years after Pearl Harbor. But yeah, this guy was also a Sasaki, and he was a pitcher. And I don't know too much about Japanese last names, but I do know that it's not like America where you have like a bunch of last names. I think in Eastern cultures like Japan and China, there aren't as many last names, especially Vietnam. You want to this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but you want to know something about Vietnam. If you just look up the last name Tran, I mean, literally the 69th most common name in the world. 8 million people, all in Vietnam, or mostly in Vietnam. 1 in 12 people in Vietnam have the last name Tran. Like, come on. Give me a minute. It's like, look at China. It's like, look at the last name Wang. Most common last name. Is it 1 in 13 people in China have the last name Wang? Let's look up Sasaki because I want to see how common it is. Yeah, 1 in 181. That's pretty common. Like the reason why Ichiro went by Ichiro and not Ichiro Suzuki, the reason why he didn't have Suzuki on this last name is because, yeah, 1 in 68 people have that last name. It's like, come on. I don't know what to say about these Eastern cultures that, or like everyone has this. It's like everyone has like 1 of 5 last names. It's like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, even Yamamoto. Like Yamamoto is a super common Japanese last name. How many people? Yeah, was it 449th most common? That seems pretty common. 1 in 113. How about that? So it's not as common as Suzuki, but it's still pretty common. Okay, I think my point's made here. But what else do I have to say? From the day that Ichiro's jersey was retired, which was August 9th, is not including the span. It is 11 weeks and 6 days, I already said earlier. Attack on Pearl Harbor 116. So that makes a lot more sense again. One thing that is interesting. So I said it was 113 days before Shigeo Nagashima's birthday, but if we look at after his birthday, so he died on he was born on 220. That was his 89th birthday. That is 200. Game 6 is 253 days later. 253 is the 81st semi-prime, and the Illuminati. The Illuminati is 81. It's funny. So with all the Illuminatis, there's like, you have the Illuminati, you have the Varian Illuminati, you have Order of Illuminati, and then you just have Illuminati. So sometimes I get them all mixed up. Like I know the 127, I know 80, I know 188, I know 201, I know 93, I know 120. Because I talk about those numbers a lot. But the Illuminati, I don't really remember these numbers quite as often. And I had actually kind of forgotten about the Illuminati. I just remembered these 3 ones, and I was like, oh, the Illuminati. And then you get 153 and 63 and 81. And of course, 201 is the 63rd composite number. I guess I should mention a couple more about the Blue Jays. Remember, it is connected to Charlie Kirk, and you have Alejandro Kirk on the Blue Jays. His birthday is November 6th, like 116. And I said if the Blue Jays do win the World Series in 6 games, they will be 11-6 in the playoffs. So that is something to think about. But my thought is Dodgers in 6. Again, they would get to 6-3 against Toronto, or Toronto would fall to 3-6 against them. And they'd go 13-3 in the playoffs. That's what I'm thinking. I was wrong about my pre-playoffs future, so I don't know if I'll be right on this one. But again, 121st World Series, 11 times 11. It is connected to Minoru Yamasaki, who designed the World Trade Center towers, and Pruitt-Igoe, which were both, especially this one, was taken down in a major 11 ritual. So yeah, it is. And I guess one more thing I should mention: Empire State Building, 102 floors tall, 9/11, 102 minutes. Dodgers have 102 wins on the season, entering the World Series. So yeah, not a surprise. And yeah, this is the 3 seed versus the 1 seed. It's Minoru Yamasaki, 91, the 31st semi-prime. So yeah, that's also not a surprise. Remember the Tigers, he died in Detroit. The Tigers finished their year with 91 wins on the season. The Mariners' first win in that playoff series against the Tigers was their 91st win of the season as well. So yeah, 3 seed versus 1 seed, 91-30 for semi-prime. All right. I think that's enough. Let's see if anyone's in the chat saying anything. Who do we got? Charlie Kirk. His birthday is... Oh, his birthday... Okay, that makes sense for them to get their 106th win of the season. Then that's also your birthday. Okay. Blue Jays winning 4-2-6 after Raptors won. Okay, yeah. I said that I'm not ruling out Blue Jays winning in 6, but I do think the World Series is going to end in 6 games. I mean, I've been saying that since late July. But because you think they'll win in 6 because, yeah, the Raptors also won in 6 back in 2019. I mean, that was over a California team as well. And the Maple Leafs won 4-2 in 67. And also, I think both of the Blue Jays' previous 2 World Series titles were in 6 games. Was it 1992 World Series? Yeah, Toronto defeated Atlanta in 6 games. And the next season, Toronto defeated Philadelphia in 6 games. So yeah, they have. Could they go for a 6-6-6 trifecta? We'll see. Yeah. And I think Toronto in 6 isn't out of what's the word I want? It's not unrealistic. Here are my notes that I was reading off of. So I said basically the case for. There is a case for the Dodgers to sweep. They'd be 13-1 in the playoffs. We know 131 is the championship number, but so I don't think they're going to sweep. If they do win in 5, I did talk about that. Win in 6, I did have the most notes for that. I guess it would be interesting if it ended on 11/1 because you have all those Minoru Yamasaki connections with 111. So that would be interesting, but I don't know if it's going to go. And that also would be a span of 112 days after MI New York won the cricket title. So that's possible it could go 7, but I'm thinking it's going to go 6, and then the parade is going to be on 11/2, because to me that makes the most sense. Their series record, does that mean, are you saying like, oh, their World Series record is 12-6? Yeah, that's true. Well, actually, if they win in 7, their World Series record is going to be 12-7, and that would be they would win it on 11/1. So that is interesting. I'm going to add that. Blue Jays in 7, 12-7 World Series record on 11/1. Oh, do I not have the right screen? No, I do have the right screen up. It's just behind. Okay, yeah. Okay. I've said what I need to say. I have to get up in the morning, and I don't want to stay up too late. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the World Series. I don't think there's anything else that I need to talk about. Just thinking if there's any other things worth mentioning. I don't think so. I talked about the build-up, why I thought it might be the Mariners, then why it wasn't the Mariners, and I talked about this World Series. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I am thinking Dodgers in 6, but I've been wrong before, so I've probably been wrong more times than I've been right. But we'll see what happens. Catch you guys later.